Coming up tonight, hundreds of boots on the ground. Triple digits in law enforcement officers get ready to roll out for the upcoming Junkanoo Parade. A man out on bail on a weapon possession charge is gunned down overnight. Hear what police are saying about his death and the appeal for help solving the crime. Plus, 20 years overdue. Renovations begin to upgrade the public hospital. And then in our news at 7:30, we've done all we can. That's the Prime Minister's response to international criticism over inflation handling. Our news at 7 starts now. This is Our News Live at 7. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepard. Some 800-plus officers from both the Royal Bahamas Police and Defense Forces will be out in great numbers policing the upcoming Boxing and New Year's Day Junkanoo parades. Officer in charge of public safety and operational support, ACP Craig Stubbs, says law and order will be maintained throughout the entire parade.
We will prevent public disorder and street crimes. We will protect properties, persons parking in the various parking lots on the outside of the parade route. We will provide security personnel there to prevent any break-ins to vehicles or other business establishment.
Now for more on the policing plan for the upcoming Junkanoo parades, tune in at 7:30 with our Italia Hall. Another man recently released on bail is dead after an evening shooting that's left area residents shaken. Police press liaison officer Chrislyn Skippings said the victim was on bail for being in possession of a weapon. Skippings said around 7:30 Thursday evening, officers were alerted that a man was shot through 8th Street off Robinson Road.
Our initial reports thus far indicate that a white vehicle with 2 male occupants came onto 8th Street. They exited their vehicle, approached the victim, and shot him multiple times about the body. EMS responded and confirmed that there were no signs of life.
Skippings confirmed that the car was a small Japanese vehicle. She could not confirm, however, if the house where he was shot was his home. Police are asking anyone with information to reach out to them.
And as usual, we ask members of the public to give us their support and their assistance in identifying who the suspects or the culprits may be that are responsible for this particular incident. Members of the public during the past year have been extremely cooperative with us, and we look forward to their same cooperation in assisting us with the information so that we can bring this matter to a closure within a relatively short period of time.
An armed robber escaped after being confronted by an off-duty officer. Police say the lone gunman, who was wearing a ski mask and dark clothing, robbed a man outside a home on Moore Avenue around 9 p.m. on Thursday night. The off-duty officer, who saw the incident unfold, confronted and chased the subject. But the gunman escaped after a short foot chase. Prosecutors have dropped a case against a man accused of murder when he was a teenager. Prosecutors accused a 13-year-old Arizona Roll of the December 27, 2009 stabbing murder of his uncle, Cordero Newbold, during an argument over the use of a computer at an apartment in New Providence. DPP Garvin Gaskin issued a nolle prosequi against the now 26-year-old, formally ending the case against him. Roll was arrested earlier this month for the April 9, 2022 shooting of Javon Saunders outside a bar on Village Road. He's accused of shooting Saunders after she had a row with his girlfriend. Roll is on remand at the prison on the attempted murder charge. However, he has a pending bail application. Amid ongoing concerns from the Retail Grocers Association over gazetted price margins, the Prime Minister is asking them to take a profit cut, at least for now. Grocers have spoken out against new margins placed on 38 categories of items announced by government back in October. Earlier this month, it was revealed that some grocers failed to change their prices. On the sidelines of a check presentation to St. John's College on Friday, the Prime Minister said everyone has to pitch in.
We're asking grocers to, for a moment, maybe lessen their profits until we get out of this mire that we're in. So this is a sharing. We're hoping that they share with us, share the burden with us for a period.
In the days leading up to Christmas, grocery stores across the island were packed with last-minute shoppers. Despite efforts by the government, there were still complaints that some items were priced too high. But Davis telling reporters government has suffered a hit to its revenue in the hopes of providing some relief to consumers.
I do not act unilaterally, right? And as I've said, together we are all in this, and together we'll be able to get out of this. So we are asking everyone to pitch in. The government has cut its revenue to enable that to be passed on to the consumer.
It's time now for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is standing by in the Weather Center. Greg, what can we expect for this long holiday weekend?
Everybody's been asking about this cold air. It's coming. It's coming. It's not quite here yet, but the front is actually moving into the northwest Bahamas as we speak. And we did have some prefrontal activity. We'll show you that in a satellite picture right now, though. 79 degrees outside, partly cloudy skies, and that's all courtesy of that prefrontal trough. Your winds are out of the west at 7 miles per hour, and that is ahead of the front. Your feels-like temperature, comfortable 76 degrees. Taking a look at temperatures around the islands tonight, it is 75 in Freeport, 75 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 77 in Alistown, Bimini. We pick up 73 in Great Harbor Key. There's a couple of showers in that location. 77 over in Governor's Harbor, over in Nicholstown, Andros, 75. Here in the capital, we are at 77 in the central Bahamas, 76 in Kemps Bay and Georgetown, as well as Coburn Towns in Salvador. We pick up 78 in Arthurstown, Cat Island, and you guys have some showers nearby as well. Deadman's Key, 79, Southeast Bahamas, near the 80-degree mark down there, 80 in Duncantown, Rycat Island. We pick up 78 in Colonel Hill, Cricket Island. Delectable Bay, Abraham's Bay, you all are 79 at this hour. Matthewtown, the warm spot in the neighborhood, 80, and of course our neighbors at the southeast, Turks and Caicos Islands, you are currently 80 at this hour. Mentioning that prefrontal trough, lots of clouds, mostly mid to upper level clouds, but we do have some showers embedded in that. Most of the activity with prefrontal trough is out in the open Atlantic, but we're still looking for some isolated showers associated with the prefrontal trough. But if you notice right here across Grand Bahama, that little line of showers, that is the actual front. So Grand Bahama, you guys will start to see those temperatures take a little bit of a dip later on tonight and into tomorrow as the cold air starts to get in here. Florida is now starting to see those temperatures dip as well. So we're looking for some cold air. Be patient, it's coming. So take precautions for this cold intrusion. It's going to make it feel a lot chilly tonight through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the long-awaited, much-anticipated renovations to PMH all set to go. Feeding thousands in Grand Bahama, our Marlena Leonard has all the event highlights for us. And meet the Body of Christ. They are a B-category Junkanoo group with a heart of gold. That's coming up when our news returns. Medical facilities across the country are set to undergo major renovations in the coming months, according to senior health officials. Here in New Providence, work is expected to begin early next week on the Princess Margaret Hospital. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darville noting that the Princess Margaret Hospital has been in a state of disrepair for some 20 years.
The work will begin as early as the beginning of next week. where our contractors would go to the Princess Margaret Hospital. We are going to renovate Female Surgical 1. We are going to replace the elevators. We're going to renovate Male Medical 2. We're going to repair the infrastructural damage that exists at a portion of the hospital at where we're going to have to begin now the reconstruction from the ground up so we can get our wards up and going.
The Public Hospitals Authority partnering recently with the Doctors Hospital to facilitate the transfer of patients during this renovation period. The health minister says that process is going well.
Our crews will work both night and day in order for us to meet the deadline that we indicated between 14 and 18 weeks while we use Doctors Hospital West. It's clear we cannot repair the wards with patients on the wards. It's a great disadvantage to the patient, and it's a medical legal issue in the event that something happens, as well as to create a better working environment for our physicians.
Managing Director of the Public Hospital Authority, Dr. Aubinette Roll, gave this update on admission numbers.
Sort of moving anywhere between 3 to 5 patients per day. And the reason for that is we have a lot of internal medicine patients. However, in our plan that we spoke to you about originally, we're moving those stable patients. What we're now seeing in this season is very critical patients. So the critical ones have to remain at the hospital, and then the stable ones go down.
After feeding over 3,000 people in New Providence last month with Operation Thanksgiving, United Faith Ministries International is back, this time in Grants, Bahamas, for Operation Christmas. Our Marlena Leonard reports.
United Faith Ministries International and the Bahamas Union of Teachers came together today to bring Grand Bahama Operation Christmas. It's a feeding drive with a goal of feeding 2,000 people. Here's what we've learned.
It's very splendid. It's good for the community. The community needs something like this because we're going through some hardship.
United Faith Ministries International recently hosted Operation Thanksgiving in New Providence last month, where they fed 3,500 people.
Operation Christmas is an initiative to inspire faith, hope, and love.
Ferguson says Operation Christmas was made possible by the leftover donations from Operation Thanksgiving, but United Faith didn't do this alone.
Bahamas Union of Teachers offered us, they were the first, Mrs. Belinda Wilson, I tell you, a gem.
The Grand Lucayan, Christ the King Church, and Kiwanis Club also pitched in to make the day possible, and that's not all who helped out.
I think it's great, you know, that they came out here to feed the community and bring everyone together.
Wayne Thompson, a teacher volunteering with the Bahamas Union of Teachers, tells us it wasn't just for people in Freeport City.
And you see people from West End, you see persons from Freeport, even see persons from the East End.
And Jack Hayward High School didn't only provide help for the lead up to the event, they also had volunteers on the ground, like Nicolette Saunders, the head girl at Jack Hayward High School.
Helping, volunteering, giving back, and spreading the holiday cheer.
In Grand Bahama, reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
One of the oldest non-profit organizations in the country leans on the public for donations and backing daily. They now need the support more than ever. Our Joshua Williams has more on this.
We like the help we get, but more can be done.
Homes in need of repair, empty pantries, and hazardous surroundings describe the state the All Saints Camp currently sits in. The non-profit organization, which houses residents with the HIV virus, struggles to keep up with its day-to-day operations. Administrative assistant at the camp, Keishla Forbes.
Our main issue would be making sure we have grocery in here to provide 3 meals a day. During the pandemic, things really slowed down, so we had to actually cut out a meal. So we had to give a heavy breakfast and a heavy dinner in order to be able to make sure everybody gets something to eat.
Forbes says that the camp receives yearly stipends from the Ministries of Health and Social Services. However, she says this does not nearly cover the cost of running the facilities.
Our needs would be grocery, cleaning supplies, and any financial assistance that we can get. Our Bahamian people alone, come out and see what the needs of people are. It's not to say you would get infected with HIV/AIDS, but to say you're actually helping your people as well. It's a community.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Thanks, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. Internal Audit Solutions made history this month, becoming the first and only firm dedicated to providing internal auditing consulting services in the country. The firm was founded by Nikisha Smith and Otsamia Pennerman, who are both certified internal auditors by the Global Institute of Internal Auditors and a former and current president of IIA Bahamas chapter, respectively. They spoke with Our News about their new accomplishment.
Our main mission is to encourage and foster a greater alignment of those standards within our institutions locally. The central bank recently, for the first time, mandated those guidelines within the regulatory framework for the licensed entities within the central bank. And so a key focus of us is ensuring that we have the right expertise locally to be able to ensure that our institutions appreciate and understand those standards.
Pennerman explaining there are two ways of auditing, external and internal, but she breaks down why internal auditing is so important for all businesses.
Internal auditing is important because it acts as a monitoring tool for organizations to ensure that the policies and controls that they do have in place are being enforced. Because you do have a lot of organizations, we have some very well written policies and procedures, but as we all know, I think there has to be some monitoring mechanism to ensure that those are actually being carried out as documented within the company.
When Our News comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world. As a gunman goes on a shooting spree in Paris, we have the details. Meanwhile, coming by land and now the sea, passengers pouring into Grand Bahama this holiday season on board the Valeria. You don't always hear about them, especially at this time of the year, but the body of Christ is looking to get the judges' attention in the upcoming Boxing Day parade. We have the details when Our News returns. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. A gunman opened fire in central Paris, killing 3 people and wounding 3 others. Witnesses say the attacker targeted a Kurdish community center and restaurant, and prosecutors said they would look into a possible racist motive. A 69-year-old suspect had been freed from prison recently, was quickly arrested. Authorities appealed for people to avoid the area in the 10th district of Paris.
I asked all the police services in Paris and elsewhere in the national territory to protect the places where the Kurdish community gathers. The killer is French. He is 69 years old. He was not considered an extremist by the intelligence services such as the General Directorate for Internal Security or the Paris and National Intelligence Services. Obviously, he wanted to attack foreigners. We will find out from the judicial inquiry led by the public prosecutor if he was specifically targeting the Kurds. For the moment, no element makes it possible to know it.
The congressional panel investigating last year's attack on the U.S. Capitol has accused former President Donald Trump of a multi-part conspiracy to overturn his election defeat 3 months earlier. The panel has released its final 845-page report on the attack. It places the blame for the January 6, 2021 storming of Congress squarely on the former president. It also recommends barring Mr. Trump from public office in the future. Facebook owner Meta has agreed to pay $725 million to settle legal action over a data breach linked to political consultancy Cambridge Analytica. The long-running dispute accused the social media giant of allowing third parties to access Facebook users' personal data. Lawyers say the proposed sum is the largest in a U.S. data privacy class action. In a statement, the company said settling was in the best interests of our community and shareholders. CARICOM Repatriations Commission Chairman Sir Hilary Beckles is calling for repatriation negotiations between the Netherlands and the Caribbean. Sir Hilary said on Wednesday that the apology for the Netherlands' role in abetting, preserving and profiting from the slave trade issued by Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte on Monday was significant and historic. He said he was looking forward to meeting with Rutte and his team. In his apology, Rutte acknowledged the horrendous suffering inflicted on generations of enslaved people.
Afschuwelijke manier.
For centuries, under Dutch state authority, human dignity was violated in the most possible horrific way. And successive Dutch governments after 1863 failed to adequately see and acknowledge that our slavery past continued to have negative effects and still does. For that, I offer the apologies of the Dutch government. Today, I apologize.
Today, I apologize.
Belize's minimum wage for all categories of workers has increased to $5 per hour effective January 1st, 2023. Officials say this new increase is part of the government's overall strategy to combat poverty and reduce inequality. The Ministry of Labor says it's currently reviewing a wage-setting methodology that will be used periodically to determine future minimum wage increases. As thousands of flights have been canceled due to bizarre weather in the United States, here in the Bahamas, things are moving more smoothly as the Caribbean has had a large capacity of passengers traveling to and from Grand Bahama and Bimini for the holidays. Caribbean General Manager Mario Otero says Grand Bahama is showing larger numbers than Bimini this holiday season, and most are residents traveling to the United States to shop.
We have recognized a big level of passengers that they are family members, that they are living in Florida or in the United States, and they are coming back home just for the holidays. And yeah, the sailings are being over 50% of capacity. So we can say that this is the first Christmas season that we are seeing the numbers coming back.
Awesome. And now our Italia Hall will have the full report from Caribbean's General Manager on holiday travel during the 7:30 hour. Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was December 23rd. And then in our news at 7:30, 'tis the season, and we're giving you a glimpse into one of our finest eateries on the island for the holiday. That's coming up when our news returns. Welcome back. It's now time to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was December 23rd.
On
On this day in Bahamian history, African National Congress President Nelson Mandela began a week-long visit to the Bahamas. Mandela was the South Africa political activist who was jailed for 27 years and was released in 1990. In 1994, he became South Africa's first democratically elected president. While in the Bahamas, Mandela, who was pictured with then Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, visited the College of the Bahamas, Coral World, and Ardastra Gardens. The beloved activist also attended the Boxing Day Junk Canoe Parade and met with a number of other community leaders. Former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis paid tribute to Mandela during the opening session of the Commonwealth Youth Games at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium in 2017. The opening ceremony coincided with what would have been President Mandela's 99th birthday. Mandela died on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95. You've heard a lot of talk from the A groups, but the B groups are also hard at work ahead of the return to Bay with one B group. The Body of Christ Crusaders, a group of some 100 young people, say they're bringing something unique and different this time around. Bethany McDermott tells us more.
Since 2004, the Body of Christ Crusaders has been hitting Bay Street in the B category. Not only are they looking to be the top B group, but coordinator Kimsley Ferguson says it's also ministry.
We don't just do junk canoe. We minister to young people. We minister to people in the community. And so some of the young men you see in this particular shack at this juncture, some of them may not work. And so we try, out of the little resources we have, to assist them. And so we have other young people who are in school who have needs.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Thanks, Bethany. And remember, you can catch live coverage of the Boxing and New Year's Day Junk Canoe Parades beginning at midnight right here on our TV and streaming on the Our News Bahamas Facebook page. That does it for us at 7. Joining us now is our Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, we're on the eve of Christmas Eve. How excited are you for the holidays?
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to spending my first Christmas with my son, and so I'm definitely looking forward to it. What about you?
I am excited to be right here at work. So you at home, I'm expecting you to spend your Christmas evening with me Sunday at 7:30 for Our News Weekend Edition.
I don't know about that, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy it with Mark as well.
Yes.
Well, following international criticism regarding inflation, the Prime Minister is responding. Here are the latest headlines. Tonight on Our News Live at 7:30, a hit back. The Prime Minister saying we've done all we can to fight inflation. He's responding to international criticism, plus no expected follow-up from the minimum wage increase. We'll tell you the rationale behind it. And an American arrested at the airport for gun possession gets bail. And later, pack your bags. Our Sasha Lightborn is taking us on a trip to the Island House for the holidays. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment. Thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. Prime Minister Philip Davis hitting back at a recent IDB report that's calling for a more targeted response to the inflation crisis. Davis is inviting them to take a look at what the government has done. Bethany McDermott tells us more.
We've done what we can and looking at what other things we can do to assist.
Prime Minister Philip Davis defending his administration's response to escalating inflationary pressures that's been plaguing Bahamians for months. A recent Inter-American Development Bank report said a more targeted response to the inflation crisis would have benefited the most vulnerable. It added that the government's recently expanded price controls are likely to deal a bad blow to small and medium-sized businesses. While the report also notes the temporary addition of more categories of food and medicine to the price control list and the increase in VAT exemption ceiling for BPL bills, the IDB says the impact on citizens is too broad.
The IDB have to see what we have done. We are targeting initiatives to combat inflation. First of all, what we have to recognize is that it's external forces that beyond our control that's feeding the inflationary pressures that we are suffering.
Now, the Prime Minister also outlining some of the steps his government has taken to ease the burden of inflation on the backs of Bahamians.
We have lowered import duty on a number of food items, right, and other commonly used goods that comes in the Bahamas. We've done that. I've engaged in conversations with transportation, with MSC and other boat owners that bring containers into the country. I've been able to get the 35% reduction in the cost of containers coming into the Bahamas from the Far East.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. And with minimum wage set to roll out in the public sector, Prime Minister Philip Davis says he's not expecting any fallout from the private sector. He announced a minimum wage increase back in October to $260 per week in both the public and private sector. The rollout was retroactive for the public service going back to July and will roll out in January 2023 for the public service.
The private sector has not said so, and in fact, we don't expect it to have any impact. And in consultation with them, don't forget, it's not the increase in minimum wage was not a unilateral decision. It was a decision made by industry under the tripartite council, which include business, government, and unions. So it wasn't a unilateral decision. So I don't expect that there may be any fallout.
While the U.S. is reporting that thousands of flights have been canceled due to bad weather, it appears as if some Americans are still finding ways to travel. The Balearic Caribbean, which sails to Port Everglades, Florida from Grand Bahama and Bimini 3 days per week, is reporting large capacity numbers since the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I had the opportunity to speak with the general manager, Mario Otero, today, and in addition to Americans traveling on the vessel to spend their holidays in the Bahamas, he's confirming that lots of Grand Bahamians are also traveling to the United States to do their annual Christmas shopping.
We have recognized a big level of passengers that they are family members that they are living in Florida or in the United States, and they are coming back home just for the holidays. And yeah, the sailings are being over 50% of capacity. So we can say that this is the first Christmas season that we are seeing the numbers coming back.
The general manager says Grand Bahama is showing larger passenger numbers than Bimini this holiday season, and despite the high demand, he says operations are moving smoothly.
Every cargo is arriving into their destination on time, and at the day that they are expecting to have their cargo. So we don't have any delays as well, and at this time we didn't have any cancellations, and it looks like it's gonna be a smooth season for us.
Now in January, the boat will take a 2-week break for the vessel's yearly maintenance. The general manager also expressing optimism about 2023.
Next year we are going to have a new website. We are going to implement some new process in terms of checking luggage and as well checking passengers. Passengers will be able to have their boarding passes in their phone, and if all their passport information is accurate, they will be able to have direct access to board the vessel without stopping at the check-in counter.
The Princess Margaret Hospital has been plagued with infrastructural issues for more than 20 years. Many of those issues will be dealt with come next week. That's according to the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Michael Darville.
I'm pleased to report that this is pretty much done in principle, and the work will begin as early as the beginning of next week, where our contractors would go to the Princess Margaret Hospital. We are going to renovate Female Surgical 1. We are going to replace the elevators. We're going to renovate Male Medical 2. We're going to repair the infrastructural damage that exists at a portion of the hospital, at where we're going to have to begin now the reconstruction from the ground up, so we can get our wards up and going. We can repair our eye ward. We can do something with our pediatric ward.
Well, it's not looking too good weather-wise for our neighbors to the north. As we speak, power outages and bitter cold gripping the eastern United States as sprawling winter storm emptied airports and shut down highways. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is standing by in the Weather Center with your first look at temperatures. And Greg, we see dangerous conditions engulfing the East Coast and the South with more than 1.4 million customers without electricity. Should we be concerned?
No, not really concerned. We are expecting the cold air mass to get in here sometime tomorrow. The front is actually moving across the extreme northern islands right now, but it is going to feel cold. And we're asking you, especially you guys in the extreme northern islands, Grand Bahama, Abaco, and the Bermuda area, make sure you layer, as this cold air mass is a very significant one. So just protect yourself. Right now, though, outside our studios, we are at 77 degrees under partly cloudy skies. The winds out of the west at 7 miles per hour, and your field side temperature a comfortable 76. Prefrontal trough across the northwest Bahamas, lots of clouds, well, moisture associated with that system moving towards the south and east. Most of the activity, showers and thunderstorms exited the area, but we do have a ring or ribbon actually of showers that's moving across Grand Bahama. That is the actual leading edge of that frontal boundary that is pushing into the northwest Bahamas. So we're looking at winds to start increasing, the temperatures to start falling by tonight and into tomorrow for the extreme northern islands, and by tomorrow afternoon we expect that cold air to meet our location here in the capital, possibly even making it into the central Bahamas. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us. Your extended forecast is still.
Still to come on our news, the full weight of the police and defense force to be in place for the upcoming Junkanoo parades. Details of a man murdered recently freed on bail. And time to head to the island for the Island House, that is. That's all coming up when our news returns. It's almost that time, the return of Junkanoo to Bay Street, and as Junkanooers and spectators prepare to hit the parade, the Royal Bahamas Police Force says there will be zero tolerance for any disruptions. Jamila Mizik reports.
Ensuring the safety of all. That's the goal of law enforcement, as 800-plus officers from both the Royal Bahamas Police Force and Defense Force will be policing both Junkanoo parades. Assistant Commissioner of Police Craig Stubbs.
We will ensure that all groups and individual competitors are able to rush along the parade route without hindrance, and spectators are able to watch the parade without obstruction. We're going to have measures in place where where persons entering would be screened prior to having access to the parade route. So it's going to be strict security measures in place.
He also explained that at 10 p.m. all vehicular traffic in the area will be suspended.
There will be traffic diversions commencing from the Nassau Street, Bay Street area all the way to the Shirley Street, Collins Avenue, and from the East Street corridor from Hay Street or Ross Corner traffic initiative will be put in place to manage the traffic and the flow of participants, spectators to the parade route.
And for anyone with intentions of disrupting the parade, ACP Stubbs has this message.
Don't come. Simple. Don't come. The result may not be in your favor.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Missick.
And remember, you can catch live coverage of the Boxing and New Year's Day Junkanoo parades beginning at midnight right here on RTV and streaming live on the Our News Bahamas Facebook page. Well, another man recently released on bail is dead after an evening shooting that's left area residents shaken. Police press liaison officer Kristen Skipping said the victim was on bail for being in possession of a weapon. Skipping said around 7:30 Thursday evening, officers were alerted that a man was shot through 8th Street off Robinson Road.
Our initial reports thus far indicate that a white vehicle with 2 male occupants came onto 8th Street. They exited their vehicle, approached the victim, and shot him multiple times about the body. EMS responded and confirmed that there were no signs of life.
Now, Skippings confirmed that the car was a small Japanese vehicle. She could not confirm, however, if the house where he was shot was his home. Now, police are asking anyone with information to reach out to them.
And as usual, we ask members of the public to give us their support and their assistance in identifying who the suspects or the culprits may be that are responsible for this particular incident. Members of the public during the past year have been extremely cooperative with us, and we look forward to their same cooperation in assisting us with the information so that we can bring this matter to a closure within a relatively short period of time.
A 37-year-old American tourist was arrested at the Lynden Pinland International Airport for allegedly bringing a gun in his luggage. Brent Ammons of Birmingham, Alabama, was headed to Cat Island for his wedding when the Beretta 9mm pistol and 12 rounds of ammunition were found on December 21st. Ammons pleaded not guilty to bringing a firearm into the Bahamas and possession of ammunition at his arraignment on Friday before Magistrate Samuel McKinney. He was granted $12,500 cash bail. Ammons is due back in court on January 20th, 2023. 3 American men are behind bars tonight after being arrested by Eleuthera police. Police say the Florida men were found in possession of dangerous drugs on Thursday. According to reports, a tip led those Eleuthera police to execute a search warrant on a vessel docked at Valentine's Marina on Harp Island. During that search, officers found marijuana on board. The Americans are assisting police with their investigation. When Our News comes back from the break, we are off on a dining adventure.
Well, local sports at a bit of a standstill as the Christmas holidays are in full swing. However, our NBA players, they're very much in action. We'll tell you how they're doing just ahead in sports.
And the final story are still to come. This is Our News. Welcome back. With local leagues on Christmas break, all eyes shifting to our NBA players as both Buddy Hield and DeAndre Ayton get set to take the court tonight. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall, and Merry Christmas to you all as we get ready to celebrate the big day on Sunday. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what's going on as far as our sports heroes are concerned. DeAndre Ayton He is back in action tonight, hoping to lead the Phoenix Suns to a nice win. They'll have to do it against the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's take a look at what he's got going on as well as what's going on with Buddy Hield. DeAndre Ayton and his Phoenix Suns at home tonight as they take on the Memphis Grizzlies, trying to get back on the winning track. Booker and Ayton trying to hopefully get the things going as the Suns right now sitting in 4th place in the Western Conference. They will face off against the 2nd place team in the West, the Memphis Grizzlies tonight, and we'll see how this one all turns out. We'll give you full details and break it down for you coming up in our next sports report. Meanwhile, how about this? Buddy Hield and his Indiana Pacers are coming off a nice upset win over the Boston Celtics just a few nights ago. They're going to try and see if they can continue that trend when they take back to the floor again this evening. As they go right now, the Indiana Pacers currently have been playing some good basketball as of late. They'll have to do it again against Miami. That game comes your way at about 8 o'clock this evening. Of course, Miami, the host team. Pacers at 500. They're playing 16-16 so far in the season. And that's it.
Still ahead on our news tonight, the story we've been talking about all night, Christmas at the Island House. And all eyes turning to the skies in anticipation of Junkanoo. Greg is back later from the Weather Center. We will be back in a moment. Welcome back to our news. That winter storm in the U.S. making Christmas difficult for some and also causing some concern about how local weather conditions may be impacted. Up now with your extended weather forecast is meteorologist Greg Thompson. Greg, now I know Junkanoo is just days away and participants and supporters want to know how to prepare. Should we be concerned?
Not really concerned. Some of the computer models we've been monitoring for the last couple of days actually have the frontal boundary just drifting to the south of the capital, and looks like we may end up with more clouds than any precipitation. If we do get any, it's going to be really light showers expected, but those showers will be very light and not long in duration. But we will still continue to watch this system as it continues to push towards the south. Of course, this is all a big low pressure system across the eastern United States. There is a frontal boundary that's attached to that. That frontal boundary is now entering the northwest Bahamas as we speak, and it actually extends all the way into Mexico. But that upper level, well, that surface low actually, and an upper level trough, the dip in the jet stream, that is allowing a very cold Arctic air mass to spill southwards. It's spreading across most of the United States, now moving into central and north Florida. Some of that cold air mass will eventually make its way down into the northwest Bahamas, possibly even making it into central Bahamas where the front is expected to stall. But as I said, we could see some brief light showers with it, but we will continue to watch the system as it progresses. This is the future forecast. That frontal boundary, as I mentioned, moving into the northwest Bahamas. Most of the activity is going to be pulling out. A small ribbon of clouds going to be hanging around, but most of those showers will be light in terms of any impact on the Boxing Day Junkanoo. But as I said, we will continue to watch this over the next couple of days. Northwest Bahamas, if you're doing any boating, not advised tomorrow. Small craft caution, those winds will be picking up. Rip current risk out there. Southwesterly winds tonight ahead of the front, but those winds will switch quickly northwest and north at 15 to 20 knots. They will be gusting high, especially across the extreme northern islands. Seas rough 4 to 7 feet over the ocean. Your high tide will be at 7:34 tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, southeast southerly flow at 10 to 15 knots. Your seas will be running 2 to 4 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, the clouds will remain. Maybe some light showers expected, as I mentioned, throughout the early part of next week. But of course, we will watch that. By the end of the week, conditions will rather improve, but those temperatures will take a dip beginning tomorrow. That's your quick look at weather. Back to you, Talia.
Or?
Yeah, positive. We are keeping our hopes up.
All right, everyone's looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, Greg. Well, need something to do during the holidays. Island House has a lot going on as they will have festivities going on throughout their campus. Our Sasha Lightborn has the story.
While many restaurants will shut down for the holidays, the ones at the Island House will be open for those who want to spend time with family and friends while leaving the cooking up to someone else. Those include Mogano, Shima, and Yellow Bell. Digital Marketing Coordinator at the Island House, Lene Fowler, explains.
For the holidays, we are basically open the entire holidays for you to enjoy our restaurant services at Mogano as well as Shima. And then we'll also be open until late at Yellow Bell, serving all of your favorite cocktails as well as bar bites.
The cinema will also remain open throughout the holidays.
The cinema will be open the entire holiday weekend for the family to come on out and enjoy all the screenings that we will be showing.
And what about New Year's Eve festivities?
No strings attached, meaning you can just come, pull up a chair, have a cocktail, and just enjoy yourself. No reservations required. We're open until late. We'll also have DJ Polar, and we'll also invite the public onto our new Yellow Bell Terrace to enjoy the music, the vibes, and just the ambience of Island House.
Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Forward to that story, and I think I'm going to check it out. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening and stay safe as you prepare for Christmas Day.